Hello, everybody, and welcome. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer. Maybe a little later than normal, but we're still here and still well in the Wednesday time frame, at least where I live, and that's what matters for this show. Joining me, as always, is my own personal cockatrice. It's Tom. How you doing?
Hello, friends. Worry
Deal with
not.
that way.
Worry not, those of you who were afraid that I had left. I am back.
All two of your fans were very concerned, Tom, that you weren't about what had happened to you.
It's true. It's true. Don't worry, guys. I'm here. We're good.
Yes. Welcome back, Tom. We are glad to have you. Also joining us are Eric and Davy from the Mortal Realms podcast, and we're super glad to have you guys. How you doing?
Doing
great,
pretty
man.
good. Yeah.
Thanks for having us on. Really appreciate you and the community that you have around the show, and glad to be fans and now participants.
That's right. Well, we are super glad to have you. The Mortal Realms podcast is pretty new-ish. You guys have 3 episodes up, right?
2 up, third is in editing at this time.
That's right, yes. I saw you said you recorded it. I wasn't sure if it had gone up. I didn't check today.
No.
And I've loved both the episodes so far. They've been great. I'm going to link their podcast down below after the show. Highly recommend everybody go there, listen to their show, subscribe, give them some rating, follow them on Twitter. We'll throw their Twitter down there too because they're always tweeting good stuff out there. So absolutely, guys, we're super thrilled to have you on. It's been a big mission of mine recently to get some more overlap between the YouTube and the Twitter podcasting community. It seems like nobody talks. I say we break down those walls.
You know, it's about the language we speak. You know, some of us speak in images, and some of us only speak in words. So it's it's hard.
Cute. I like it. I also love, by the way, Eric, how you really came prepared for this show because I can. Yeah, exactly. Yes, over his shoulder. I'm actually going to put it on you here for a second. Look at who's watching from behind, ready for the death conversation.
There is no. I don't owe him anything. He doesn't have anything over my soul, and I swear all of my words are my own and not in any way coerced.
So you say, but I see him over there. He's pointing at you too effectively. He's like reading and controlling you.
He's always pointing. It's opposed.
All right. Well, we will get into our discussion of the Death faction a little later. For now, though, of course, as always, we begin with the news. And Tom, I think we know what the most important news item of the week is. So start us there.
That you heard it here first. Lizardmen are coming.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. That the Lizardmen are completely tinfoil hat. Lizardman prediction was accurate. That the Lizardmen seemingly at this time are getting a big repack. And I'm gonna show some images here. How about that? Everybody ready for some exciting images?
Let me guess. They're lizardmen on round bases.
Well, they are Lizardmen on round bases. That is true. Yes. But there you go. There's the White Dwarf. There it is.
Square
No
bases
one.
in space.
Yeah, no one guessed German, by the way, for the language that the White Dwarf would be spoiled in from the pool last week. So no winners. There's a nice shot of it all together. Looking good. Looking good on their round bases.
Yeah.
Well, but there is something new. We got our new book, and it promises to tell us about what the Lizardmen are doing. So we'll actually finally get an explanation for a completely new race that isn't Sigmar in the Age of Sigmar.
And that isn't completely new.
Yeah.
Fair point.
So, I wonder, are people going to be painting these guys differently? Like, putting, stars, like the night sky on their shield or something? Because to me, they're still, because the aesthetic is still, Aztec, natural?
Mm-hmm.
The whole celestial thing, I don't get it. What is that going to look like?
Yeah,
Gentlemen, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I'm really excited to see how the book addresses that, because it is a disconnect I have. They were, these primitive jungle, and they always had the kind of astral connection going on. But it'd be interesting to see how that plays out here. I really don't have a good concept of where they're sitting in the Age of Sigmar. They had the one little showing in the first Call of Archaon novella, and we haven't seen them otherwise, I believe.
Yeah, I can't think of any other time. There's the brief mention of them there, and I don't think that they've been when they sort of teleported in and helped out the Stormcast there.
You know, guys, I'm really disappointed, and I'll tell you exactly why.
All right, I'm ready.
I was really hoping that we would get Kroot models instead of lizards, and we didn't. And I just think there's a missed opportunity.
I think you might be one of the 4 people on the planet who are hoping that, so that's okay.
You know, the Tau release, it was a fine prediction.
Sure.
Is this going to be symptomatic of what Age of Sigmar is? Like, are we going to get 2 years of basically, like, re-releases with round bases?
Well, I think the more question, or the more interesting question to me, Tom, is this all we're going to get out of the Lizardmen? Like, we've got a book here, but will we see Lizardmen releases later on down the line, other releases?
I hope not, because I would hope their stats would be in the book. Like, that's why we're buying books, right?
Well, my
everything in one place.
Yes, the book is sort of representing them wherever they are right now. I'm saying, you know, part of what we talked about pre the release of Age of Sigmar itself was the idea that you could cycle in these through narrative events. We could have just like you've got the Realm Gate Wars and this other stuff, you could have these books come out that have a smattering from different forces.
But I thought we weren't releasing books anymore. Like, all of that was under the, like, hypothetical situation that we had done away with books. Like, race books as we knew them.
Well, I think we are done with them as we knew them. I think, because you can get all these war scrolls, you can get them free in the box, you can get them free online. So you're not buying the book in order to build an army. You may get them for the battalions or some such, but this is more, I think, I see these books as something you're getting if you're really into that race, you want to know the background. You get a little bit of stuff like scenarios or the battalions, but otherwise you don't need it to be able to play that race. And so in that sense, I think we are done with them as we knew them. And so I think, like Vince is saying, I think we will see some trickle releases coming out. I don't think this will be Lizardmen done for 5 years like it might have been in the past. It's my hypothesis.
I think you guys are overestimating the competence of GW. Like, I don't have a lot of hope for. I don't know. Like, this was the perfect time to provide an update. Like, new Saurus Cav? Come on.
No, I hear you.
I don't know.
So here's my guess on why it might be Lizardmen now. I think they may not have had anything that they were real excited about or thought they were going to work on soon. They're like, let's get something out. This is an easy thing. All we got to do is, do bases again. We'll come back around to these guys later, but let's get something on there, so that there's not a AOS hiatus for too long while they're gearing up whatever the actual big next properly beefy release is.
I think you're completely right. Like, I do, in that, like, I think that they looked at Lizardmen and were like, well, we're not going to do anything with them, so let's put them in the release schedule because they are a tight package that we can basically just rebox a bunch of stuff, print a book, and call it done.
I also think narratively it works, right? Because these are the Lizardmen themselves are sort of extricated from the entire End Times world blowing up arc. They've been sitting in their little spaceships. They could have been in cryostasis for 3,000 years.
Oh, God.
Right? I mean, do you tell me that's not true?
No, it's probably true. That's the sad part.
Exactly. So, like, they didn't need to change. All the rest of these armies, no, you're not going to see repacks. Because, like, what do elves look like? What do Duerden look like? What do Red Slayers look like? They all look like something new.
I don't, like, let me just throw out a tinfoil hat hypothesis. I don't think we're going to get to see any new armies. I think we'll see a maximum of one new, quote-unquote, army per year. I don't think we're going to see truly new forces more than one a year.
Wow.
One side maybe a year. Like, I don't, like, of Sigmar levels. Like, we may see updates, like a line of dwarves with most of the same stuff and a couple new models. But what I'm saying is entire new lines like the Aelf, which is what they seem to be implying, is that, like, there's going to be big changes there. I don't think we'll, like Sigmar, for example, the Sigmarines. Like, that is an entirely new line. I don't anticipate that we will see more than one full new line per year.
Well, that's probably true, but that's not that bold of a statement. You could have like dwarves and elves and some brand new total force, and your prediction would be technically true, but that's semantics.
But
those who play elves and dwarves and got 4 or 5 new kits wouldn't feel like they didn't get a new release.
Do we even want that many brand new forces? I mean, we have 16 existing factions as it is. Let's work through those. I think there's a lot of room to kind of rewrite or expand. I'm really excited to see what happens with dwarves, with elves, all that sort of thing. I don't know that I want all those resources going into absolutely brand new factions, but
Right.
no, I don't know.
I will say that I do think they could have gone a long way with the new paint job, as you mentioned, Tom, that really showed a change without there being a change in the structure, right? That there was just some new motif, or hey, yeah, we were this Aztec feel, but that was like because we were in the old world and we are kind of trying to blend in a little. But when we show our true colors, now we're coming back a little different. They're still, I mean, they're hinged to their their sculpt, so they're going to have some of those elements still. But I think I have seen some paint jobs with their shields having some kind of star patterns on them and that sort of stuff. But I think every time a new faction comes into AOS, like AOS has me wanting to build like every faction, every army,
Right.
even little like groups of them. And so like to me, I was thinking, well, what would be a more angelic or a more like alien feel? So something more like a light or white kind of base coat with some sharp contrast things, not unlike the lizards are, but less earthy tones, more kind of weird tones and stuff. So
yeah, I could have totally went with like black scales, and then all of the gold on them goes silver, like some hyper contrast, and then maybe do some star patterns on shields, and I think they could have went a long way with something like that, but we just got lizardmen in space.
Sure. Let me point out one last thing here. Now, I don't want to belabor all this too much, but did we see the pricing for all of this? I thought it was good because what happened is the pricing for all this stayed pretty much the same, and a lot of these are really, really economical kits. Like this 20 Saurus Warriors kit up on the screen is like 35, I think, is what it was.
No kidding.
Or something like that. Let me get you. We'll bring up. Let me bring up the exact pricing. Yeah, they really are. The Saurus Guard was the most expensive. Let me bring up the exact prices here. Let me stop sharing for a moment and bring up the exact prices.
On the flip side, this is what I'll say. Now's a great time to start a Lizardman army because it's not going anywhere.
Absolutely. So let's see. The Skinks, which was 24 Skinks, is $35. The Saurus Knights, which are obviously the mounted riders, was 8 for 35. Not too bad for Cav. The Saurus Guard is the most expensive of the infantry. That was like the Temple Guard guys. That's 15 for 55, which still is not terrible. That's about $375 a minute.
Is it really 15? That's an odd number.
That is an odd number, but that's the number.
I thought that was weird.
Yeah, 15 for $55. And
they totally don't care about our comp systems, do they?
They do not. And then Saurus Warriors, we're 38. Sorry, so you get 20 Saurus Warriors for $38, which I think is, honestly, that's pretty good.
Less than $2 a miniature. That means that if you're buying them at the 20% discount, you're getting $30 for 20 miniatures.
Yeah. I'm going to jump back into screen share here for just 1 second just to focus on one image. And that is this right here, the Thunder Beast Host. So this is the new combo box. Comes with the big Carnosaur guy, 2 Staggies, and your flying Pterodon / Ripper Dipper Doos.
That's going to be like $250.
It's $210.
Wow.
Yes, which means that's actually a discount.
That's a real discount.
It really is, because legit, the retail on this, if you just bought all of it, is $261.
Yep.
And it's going to retail for $210. So you actually can save some money on one of their bundle package box things, which I thought was pretty cool.
I don't know how to respond to that.
Yeah, especially since this is full of what I think are honestly the coolest models in the Wizardman range.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, they're giving something for everybody, and like you said, I mean, we're kind of really seeing, certainly, like you said, that Tom, that we got one big splash release, huge. I mean, both the Stormcast and a rethink of the Khorne, the fluff, but also the models themselves. We get in that starter box, we got so many heroes and crazy cool new stuff. We are kind of wanting it both ways, right? Because we want new stuff, but we also want to have our old stuff validated, and they are. I mean, and so all the people who play Lizard that were so afraid, everything that they have is totally valid. It works in the world. Now the fluff just has to work for us. And so far, I'm feeling pretty confident that the fluff will make it fit.
Yeah, I like that, and I agree completely. All we want is everything. Why can't we have everything all the time, always? As I pointed out last time, when 8th edition rolled out, it was a year and a half before there was even like before there was any collection of serious 8th edition army books out. It took the 4th book came out a year and a half later.
Yeah, it's bananas.
So yeah, we've got a little time still before we're even close to 8th edition release schedule.
Yeah.
All right, Tommy, but that's the Lizardman. So I think what we've proven here is that Warhammer Weekly is your source for news and rumors by completely pulling that out of our ass.
Pure speculation. Go.
Does your ass work at GW?
It could happen. I don't know where it goes at night. I mean, I've never seen me and it in the same room at the same time.
So I'm going to use that as a segue.
Perfect. I'm excited for this one.
So there's been a lot of bitching recently. Like, this is going to go to like a somewhat impromptu like news element, and that's just talking about like the general market trend of, you said like, oh, we had a year, it was like a year and a half before we had 4 armies, and and a lot of people have kind of like tongue in cheek said that Age of Sigmar isn't going to last that long. But there's some really interesting market trends going on. So if you follow the forums at all, one thing they talked about is that like there's an alarmist thread that's like hobby stores are liquidating their inventory, and I was like, I don't know about that. And then like if you look on Amazon, like Age of Sigmar boxes are selling for $70 shipped right now, both armies, and not from one distributor. Like we're talking. Like they're getting $60 for the box, $63 for the box, and they're getting like $7 shipping or whatever. So that means they're literally selling these at 50% market price. They're making no money. They're probably taking losses on these boxes, and it's not just one distributor. There's like 12 up there on Amazon right now trying to move at like $70. So I saw that and I was like, well, that's curious, but that's just Amazon. It's a handful of stores, no big deal. So as I was traveling this last week, I was out of the show last week, and I drove through Kentucky, which is where I happen to live, and it's also where Troll and Toad, for those of you guys that recognize this online distributor, they have a brick-and-mortar store, and so I stopped at their brick-and-mortar store in London, Kentucky, and I walked in, and I was like, I've gotten some really good deals here. I wonder what their Warhammer stuff looks like. I walk in, and what was like a very long rack of 40K and Warhammer Fantasy had turned into a box of the 40K Executioner's Force, the Age of Sigmar box, and that's it. Basically, everything else was gone. Everything they'd completely emptied the shelf, and a lot of the stuff that was left, like I picked up a bunch of the like. The basing material for like $5 a bag of GW basing material, because they're literally just trying to like get stuff out of their store as fast as possible. So it's I'm actually beginning to see this on the ground in some of the places that I'm interacting. Is anybody else seeing this? Where
certainly we've got a couple of local game stores that certainly have quite a bit of stock that doesn't seem to be moving. Like they bought in and they're trying to have it as trying to have as much in stock as they can for those of us locally. It's hard to say from those examples, because on one hand, if people are buying them, that's still packs getting into people's hands. That means that players are still getting into Age of Sigmar, and it may just it's that gap between hitting the market and when we see maybe people coming to it. The other side too is I don't know. If that story you're talking about is primarily an online space, maybe their retail just isn't making the margins, and they're doing similar to what others do, and say, hey, I'm just going to go all online and order on demand and get it out. So I don't know. It is hard to say.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of ways we could cast the tea leaves around it. I know at my store I still have like a huge selection of everything I want, and they seem to have pretty good sales and turnover. Like throughout all of the, and the way I can tell that is this, throughout all of the releases of Age of Sigmar at the beginning, when I would go in to pick up my stuff, they have a big shelf that's the stuff people have like pre-ordered and set aside and want held for them, and that shelf was always packed like with stuff from that week. They will hold your stuff for 2 weeks, so it's possible to carry like week to week, right? So you don't have to necessarily come by every week. But when I would come the next week, it would usually just be mostly stuff from that week. So that meant in the interim period, most people had shown up and picked up their stuff, right? So there was plenty of that sell through for them. So I know it's been very profitable for them, but again, that's just one anecdote.
Right.
I will say that there's if you've got a shop selling it at like that price, Tom, that's literally them selling it at margin, because retailers buy from GW at 50%.
Right, like that's what I'm saying. Like they're trying to clear out inventory. They're not trying to make money anymore. They're trying to liquidate.
Sure. Which, I mean, that's probably just a case of how much of it's out there and how much of it they have. You know, it's hard to say off the box set of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think ultimately, obviously, what we're all waiting on is we'll all get to play the fun game of read GW's financial reports in, several months. Always the fun time. The one time suddenly a bunch of us gaming nerds become like fiscal investors. We're waiting for earnings season. Let's see how TW did.
I can't do it. I go on like communication blackout on those threads. Like I just pretend I don't see them because there's so much armchair economics going on. And I'm no expert, but I can still like makes my skin crawl sometimes. So.
Well, my favorite is any thread that starts with like, "Well, I am an accountant in my normal." Oh, here we go. All right.
Look out. Some knowledge about to get dropped.
I'm surprised we're not just all saying, "Hey, I feel like that stat there is overcosted, and I can't get the magic item I want into that bottom line."
No, so I just bring it up simply because I recognize like it was a very curious observation. And I recognize that it's anecdotal, but it's seeing this now in multiple streams, both brick and mortar and then also online.
Well, the answer is you out there. Tell us, what do you see? How's your store doing? Do you see similar things? There you go.
Yep.
We will ask the community. Put below. We want to know. Inquiring minds.
So we're gonna move on from that. We
good.
have GW sent out an email today about their new Warhammer Digital, a new initiative that they have. And it's they're trying to push their digital venue is basically what it looks like. There's an opportunity to win a bunch of ebooks, buy some stuff, get some 40K stuff free shipping on basically all of their book stuff. So they're really trying to push this digital thing, but I guess people don't want to pay that kind of money for. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Do you guys have any digital? Like, have you bought any digital books from them?
So I bought the first big Age of Sigmar book. I bought it in app to try that out, and the initial impression on that was very poor. Like the app wasn't built well enough for it. Navigation was awful. Crashed a bunch. It's come a long way. It's still I've not repeated that. I prefer to just have the physical product in my hands. I did get all the end times on digital, and I liked that. It was convenient. They were slightly cheaper, and I could bring with me easily to work and just have them right there. So I think for me, it's a pick and choose. Outside the app, just fine. Inside the app, wouldn't recommend. Was really awful. It's gotten better. Still wouldn't recommend.
Yeah, I'm reading all of my digital books, or the fluff books digitally, so all the novels and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So I'm doing it that way, but I'm buying the. So I didn't buy any of the physical End Times books, but I flipped and I bought a couple of the books digitally, and I liked it all right, but I didn't feel like I was going to it very much. I really liked getting the first book in the Quest for Galmaraz for my shelf, but then I'm just devouring the fluff digitally. So I'm a mixed bag. I'm complex.
I like it. You're a man of many pursuits. Nothing wrong with that. That's fine. Yeah, I think for me, there's something about having like some kind of the physical book, but that's true for all my games. Like that's just not a Warhammer thing or even that. I mean, when I buy my role-playing game books, most of them can be digital. Even the books for the games I write, that I have them on my computer, I still actually use the physical books that I have had printed of my game. And I mean, you know, maybe I just like paper. I'm old, I guess. All right, cool. What else we got, Tom? Any other news?
Yeah. So Warhammer Total War, we've reported on it a little bit.
Yep.
And the new trailer dropped this week for their pre-ordering, and they said, hey, by the way, we said there's only going to be 4 races. They announced that there was going to be what was it? Empire, Dwarves, Orcs and Goblins, and Vampire Counts. But they said, hey, if you pre-order, you can get the first downloadable like paywall content pack, Chaos Warriors, included in your pre-order. And it's like, wait, what? Like we're gonna have to pay extra for Chaos in a Warhammer game?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So the nerd rage went to like 11 this week on YouTube. Like there's a bunch of like people that are like watching the YouTube trailer and then just like simultaneously like recording their like facial responses as they're watching these trailers. It's fantastic. So it's really unfortunate, and if you want to complain about it, put it in the comments.
So let's walk through this. So are either of you interested in Total War?
Oh, video games and I are we have a history, and it is a history of black holes and not getting anything done. So I don't play video games anymore.
It seems a positive thing, really, because I think my own story is probably much the same.
It's true.
So, but I do find it interesting. Like, I mean, most, they are a modern company, and they have to adopt some of the ways that video games are done, and there's just not a, the video games don't make their big money off those earlier. Sometimes they get those big, huge first releases, and I think they're probably going to do all right with that. But yeah, I mean, and I was thinking about a game like Guild Ball. I was listening to a podcast on that real quick. Sorry if I'm splitting.
No, please.
But I mean, like that and a few other games, like every year they're going to come out with a new set of miniatures, rewrite the rules, flip the script. But it's great fun, but it also means that people are going to have to buy new models and switch what they're doing, and they aren't going to, you know what I mean? So on one hand, it can be really positive and engaging. On the other hand, it can be, souring, and it's hard. I think it's probably hard to find the right mix of that. But yeah, I mean, I think we are so all over the place with what we want, and
right.
I heard somebody talk about the other day, like you can't please everybody, and so every time you do something, the people you don't please are going to say something, but the people you do probably aren't, and so they could have done it a different way, and not done it that way, and some other group of people would have, clamored up and had a pity fest. So, yeah, I mean, and I'll say it real quick. We'll probably get into this later, but I mean, for us, part of why we started our podcast, spoiler, was just because I only have like a few hours in my week to hobby, and I don't have a lot of time to not enjoy what I'm doing. And so it's kind of like I choose to use a lot of rose-colored glasses. So my comments tonight on this stuff is going to be a little rosy. But that's only because if I don't, I'm going to be in a puddle in the corner at the end of the night, and I can't handle that.
But
I like it.
My pushback is this. Chaos? Really?
Look, they've been the favorite for too long. What we needed is a video game company to come in here, kick Chaos right in their face, and remind them that they're not that important. Let's get back to the good old days where nobody knew what Chaos was.
We could have done this with Bretonia. Or we could have done this with...
No, they're just never getting made. There's a difference.
And no one's going to pay for that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's economics.
Yeah, you don't put Bretonia behind the paywall. Nobody wants to go to the other side of that wall.
But I mean that part of that's my choice, or my point is that yes, Chaos is a very highly desired thing. So they're awesome. You know what we need to do? Make people pay more money for that.
Yeah, let me give you let me ask you a question, Tom. You ever go to a sporting arena for some sport game?
Or sport ball?
Yeah, for some sport ball. You ever been to a professional sporting arena? Seriously.
Yes.
I assume the answer is yes, right? Okay. Yeah. If you want to go sit up in the really nice seat that has free food and free beer and really good, or you want to be courtside, are those tickets the cheapest ones? No.
We're still watching the same game, though. That's the difference.
You're exactly right. You're still playing the same game.
No,
those
you're
guys
not
have
playing
access
the same
to
game.
different content. The nicer things cost more money. And if Chaos is what's really wanted, that's the one that costs more. I just stuck Chaos right behind that paywall, too. So maybe I'm a terrible person, but when it came to it, I would have been like, I would have done a survey and figured out, like, the top 3 people wanted the most. I would have given them number 1 and made them pay for 2 and 3.
Here's my suggestion. For those who want to get past this, buy the Age of Sigmar starter box. Set up your Chaos minis right in front of the TV so it looks like whatever team it is the Chaos team. And you've just screwed GW.
That's right. Take that. Exactly. Can I like hook up a Kinect somehow so I can read my troops out there on the field and figure out what I want? That'd be pretty sweet. All right. I think the only other small news items that came to my mind were obviously we finally saw a bunch of screws of the plastic Horus Heresy game, which I thought was interesting because it is what I thought was interesting about it was it is a box set game like what was the assassin one called? Execution Force or whatever?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it had tiles and cards and stuff, but it also had really nice models if you like Space Marines and such. It had an old style Juggernaut, which I thought good. So that's finally coming, and I'm sure that's going to sell a lot. So for those of you who want that, also now with the lizards, we'll also get the individual pieces of that little wall, that magic cow wall that apparently everybody in the world wanted to get their hands on who played 40K. I would have never guessed that the best-selling item of the last 6 months would be a very strange wall. But I don't know the market, I guess. There you go. All right, Tom, did I forget any small news items?
Nope, that's everything.
Cool. One quick mention to a throwback to last time, Tyler Emerson, frequent person who sends me a lot of stuff, subscriber, and just an all-around great guy. I've mentioned in a previous show that he is the one who worked with the commission painter to do that awesome Tyrion conversion, if everybody remembers that.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, that amazing Tyrion conversion. So the article he wrote and the pictures of it are all up on Mangle Miniatures, and I will put a link for that at the bottom at the end of the show, so you can go check out the article he wrote. It's really good. Highly recommended. So
Mangle's a great site all around.
yes, definitely a worthwhile thing to have in your. If you have a favorite that's related to Warhammer, that's a good one to slide in there. A lot of good stuff. He just threw up a Calidia today that I very much liked, and hey, I'm all about that.
He's very active on Twitter.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so with that said, let's move on to some hobby time. So, gentlemen, you are the guests, so we'll start with both of you. Davey, you're on my screen. You're the most left, so you get to win. So you get to go first of the
Davey
of the Mortal Realms team. So what are you working on? What's on your table right now?
The big project is rebasing the Slaanesh Cav army that I was working on for 8th and never quite got closed out. So some of planning what the different units are going to be. But unfortunately, rebasing Cav in particular is pretty awful because they have these long ridges down the bottom, and it's pretty labor intensive, and plastic flies around. I should really be wearing safety glasses right now, but other than that, that's the big thing is doing that and hoping that they are feasible. I've only gotten a couple test games in with them thus far.
And I am not a good test of the feasibility.
Now, have you seen the base extensions you can buy for Cav and stuff? They're just like their little MDF circles that have the Cav hole in the center, so you can just set it on your existing miniature, run a little bit of glue around, and then just build up your base around the edge.
Yeah, I have, and I may look into that because I didn't think this was going to be a big deal, and it turns out it is. I was like, it can't be that hard, and it is that hard. So I'll take a look and see if I can get those to look.
I feel like those ones are pretty big compared to the ones I'm using.
It depends on how you're basing your Cav. So if your Cav are going to go for like a pill base, then you're out of luck because you can't really do that. But if you're going to go up to like the 35 by 60 mil oval or the 75 by 46, which is what I like my Chaos Knights and bigger Cav on, then you'll fit fine.
Yeah. Cool.
just depends on how big you want your cav to be running around. For me, for Chaos Knights, I feel like they got to have some space. They want to spread out, really use the space.
I tell you, they do look great on the ovals as far as I'm concerned. And it was a nightmare trying to get them rank up before. Like literally, the guys on the edge of the unit were barely hanging on to the edge of their base, while the middle guy was right down the center. It looked like some weird, unit explosion going on.
You were actually just set like one half split second after a cannonball had impacted right behind them, and they were all
exactly
like this,
just sailing outwards. Yeah.
Or maybe a bone giant just deflected them. I don't know.
Yeah, don't talk
Could have been. All right, Eric. What about you, sir?
Well, so I did it when I initially got the starter box. I did a lot of just trying to speed paint both sets, and I did pretty good. I got pretty far, and then work happened, and I was actually out of painting for a long time. So I was focused a little bit more on terrain and quick and dirty terrain. This past month, I've been able to get back, have some time for painting. My new little one is sleeping a little better, but instead of going back to speed painting, I went back to painting my undead army. So I've been just kind of getting into them. So most recently I finished up my Glade Guard skeleton archers, just I have a theme of at the end of 8th, my general was a Empire like captain or something, and he'd been turned into a vampire, in denial, goes questing, ends up kind of collecting a very hodgepodge group of units. So I've got like Orc Grave Guard, and I've got Elvish archers and Centaur horse archers, and I've got so just a little bit from all the different races. So it's a slow moving because every single unit's conversion. So my latest secret project is my I'm going to spill it totally 100% here on your show, Vince.
I'm excited. All right, Warhammer Weekly exclusive.
This is my my casket, or my spawn pool of souls.
Nice.
So, I've got big plans for this Lord Croak, who's not Lord Croak anymore because he's at the service of my general. So.
Well, and he was always a corpse, anyways.
Yep.
So that fits right in.
It was actually one of those where I was like, oh, what should I do for this? And then I saw the model, and I'm like, duh. So.
I love it.
So that's what I've been working on. And then, last night, while I was traveling, I usually bring the Stormcast or the starter set with me to paint in the hotels and stuff. But, yeah.
Very nice. All right, Tom, what about yourself, sir? What have you been doing?
Well, I've been trying to get that Arachnarok done, and I'm literally down to, like, just the goblins. Like, that's it. Just the 8 goblins that need to be on the Howdah. Like, everything else is done. And then I looked up, and I'm like, oh, it's nearly the end of the month, and I have, like, 35 dwarves that I need to paint.
You did commit to 35 dwarves this month.
Yeah, for the budget of Sigmar. So those 8 goblins are have been moved off to the side, and I am working on my October pledge.
All right, very good. For me, myself, I am not irresponsible like Tom. Instead, I have decided to move ahead. I can't wait any longer to work on the Zeech stuff, so I apologize. I finished my budget of Sigmar from last month already, so now we're working on the next month's budget of Sigmar.
Shame on you.
Hey, look, I'm traveling right at the top of the month, so I'm losing a couple days then. I'm just moving it to now. So I'm working on my Chaos Knights. This is going to be a big, big month. The Chaos Knights, I got 5 Chaos Knights for $15. I haven't figured out what else I'm going to do, but I picked up a $25 like Manticore with a dude on it, a $25 Slaughter Brute. So there's a lot of things I could mix into this month. Those just showed up today, and I was very excited. I never realized how meaty that Slaughter Brute was. He's real muscly. So now I just need to get a Vortex Beast as well. So I'm hunting for a Vortex Beast, because there's nothing more Zeech than a big sweet Mutilith Vortex Beast. So Lord T would be. I'm trying to live up to my idol and hero, Lord Tremendous. All right. So these guys are still a little ways away from done anyway. So whatever, Tom. They're probably not going to be done before the beginning of the month anyway. Probably. Okay. When's the beginning of the month? It's like tomorrow, right? All right. So let's move on to our feature segment for tonight, for this week. We're talking about death. We're talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the death faction. Now, of course, it goes without saying there's a whole lot of ugly when it comes to The Walking Dead. As we all know, zombies are not pretty. They're not known for their attractiveness. So they are both bad and ugly, and have been good on the table at various points in the history of the game, depending on what you want to talk about. But what we are concerned with is how death has come through it all. Now that they've gotten their own realm, they get to live in their own realm. They get to their death in the realm of death. I'd like to think they finally found a home.
So how are the vampires surviving in the realm of death? Like, they still have to drink blood, right?
I don't think Warhammer vampires ever had to drink blood. I don't think it's like a they starve thing. They just like to do it.
It's a hobby.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm just trying to figure out where they're getting all this blood in Shyish.
Sure.
Well,
So
I think
it
there's
does-
some implication that there are living beings in Shyish. If you look at, well, I don't know, maybe I'm speculating too much here.
I was
But,
like, are there? Like, we don't know. That's the problem.
Well,
Like,
the biggest clue is the Lord Relictor, Ionis Cryptborn. He was a Eonid something, Bond something, but he talked about his wife, and it really, like, in the flashback, it seemed like both he and his wife were living and in the realm of death. So to me, that implies there are living people down there in the realm of death. So
I think there's a few other comments to the same where, like, just there's some people that like to hang with the dead. It happens here in our realm too. It's a weird.
but
It's a weird
why
thing we don't judge.
can't they just give us more information?
yeah.
Just tell us. Tell us what. Just like, I don't know. Sorry, I'm being a bitter, grumpy old man tonight.
You know what? If you listen to the Mortal Realms, we're going to be helping you out there.
That's right. There you go. See, Tom, you should be listening to that podcast.
Clearly.
All right. So, let's kick it off. We'll start. What we're going to do is we're going to have everybody give their good, their bad, and their ugly in some categories. You know this game. It's our old saw, our time-honored tradition, our old canard. So, our everybody's favorite segment. So, Davey, as I said, you are on the left, and so you are going to get to go first. So, we'll start off with your good, your bad, and your ugly in special characters in the realm of death. Kick us off. What do you got?
All right. Well, for my good, I'm going with something that I just enjoyed reading about. I haven't actually seen him on the table, but Cetra. I enjoy that guy as a character. He is one of the flavor rules that isn't overly obnoxious. With the Cetra never kneels, and if you accidentally kneel, you lose the game. It's funny without having to, like, really push it on you. And yeah, he's just he's fun. He's got some serious beef with his weapons, and he's a good guy to see around. I'm interested because at the end of the first End Times book, he was still kicking around, and we never saw him again. So presumably he's still alive, but we don't really know yet. So, which I'm sure Tom is really excited about that lack of knowledge. So.
Well, last we saw him, which was in the Lord of the End Times novel, but he didn't show up in the book. In the Lord of the End Times novel, he shows up, kills Throg, cuts a chaos giant's head off, calls Nagash a bitch, and says,
This is all true.
This is all true. I mean, not exactly verbatim, but, like, the actions that I am saying here are legitimate. He did do all these things.
The feelings.
Yes. He chided Nagash sternly and told him that when he's done with the Chaos Gods, he's going to be back for him. And then he marches off into the warp and goes into the Chaos and disappears. So
Dramatic.
All right. Wow.
So there you go. Obviously, his sword was more than a match for Throg because he still had the Blade of Petra or whatever, the old flaming light sword there. So he made short work of Throg.
Nice.
Yeah, and I was glad to see that guy die. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right,
Rob,
so that's
man.
good. Obviously, no disagreement from me. I love me some Cetra. That my love of Cetra is well known. So give me some bad and some ugly.
Okay. Bad. Nothing huge on here. Just I was a little disappointed in Kalita, and I don't know why. I shouldn't be. I wanted her to be a little cooler than she was when I did that. Like I didn't get super excited. She's only moved 4 for some reason. It didn't quite grab me the way I was hoping it would. But no big deal there. Can't dwell on that too long. For ugly, I'm going to go perhaps controversial here. I'm going to go with Nagash himself. And
shut your face.
All right.
And only because I'm actually, when I was reading over I'm excited to play against this guy, Eric. Oh, here he comes.
Dun, dun, dun.
Eric's got a beauty all painted up. We can run that at each other, but I think he may be the most powerful single model in the entire game. Like I don't know if I'm off base here, but it's to such an extent that like if you're using a comp system, he warps that comp system around him. Like he can cast so many spells. I think he's just hard to wrap your head around, and I think that's as it should be because he is the leader of one of the 8 mortal realms at this point. So makes sense. But I say ugly not in the sense that like he's awful, no one should play him, but just that he's such an outlier that's where he lands for me.
No one should play him.
I totally agree, and I understand what you're saying. He's ugly in the effect that he sort of has in the game. You've got to really talk to your opponent beforehand and say, like, hey, I would like to play Nagash. Are you okay with that? What can we do to make this fun still? Because this guy is going to be very hard to play against, right? Like he's just a beast.
It just, like, you require waivers to like...
Could you please sign here? Yeah, absolutely. All right, good. I like it. Good list. Solid list all around. All right, Eric, you go. Good, bad, ugly.
All right, my good, and I'm a fluffer, so my good. So I'm running a primary skeleton army, so I'm gonna be a little slanted. This is not any way, shape, or form founded in reality in some ways, but Krell is a badass. I'm really loving me some Krell, and particularly just because similar to, let's see if I can find the dude. Similar to Korgus Kull, he has this axe. Roll the dice at the end of the combat phase for each enemy model that Krell wounded but did not slay. And he's got 4 attacks, so he could attack a few people. If the result is greater than the number of wounds that model has remaining, it's just slain. It's just dead. So just the epicness of being able to do something like that's pretty cool. And then he also allows skeletons to have another attack. So, if you get those 20 skeletons or whatever, and then you add another attack on there without them being 30. So it's just a nice buff there. The bad. Let's see. I'm not as familiar with the characters. I don't. Well, I guess Krell's a character, but I'm a little. Is the White King? He's a hero, right?
He's a hero, not a special character.
Oh, sorry. We want to just okay. I've heard that Neferata isn't great, but that model is so awesome that it's just sad if it's not great. But I don't have a lot of info on her. I guess ugly, to go on Davy's version of ugly. I think the is it the Necro Sphinx or I actually think the Royal War Sphinx pretty badass. Just so many attacks and fiery.
You gotta save him. He can come back later. You gotta get a special character.
That's monster.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I am
all right. You're jumping around on me.
English. What language are you guys? This is that I'm used to words, not pictures or something. I don't know.
It's the visual format, so I understand.
Yeah. So then I guess ugly from the standpoint of, I think I'll do it from this way, that nobody really wanted Manfred back.
I know where he's going. Yeah.
That's such a strong choice. I support this 100%.
But I will say that in the where he has been mentioned so far, I've really liked some switch in the character. So, but I think that's one where we're kind of hoping, maybe we'll give him a different name. But so those will be my 3 in the named character category.
I like it. All right. Solid list all, and I love calling Manfred out. Seriously, who wanted that guy back? If there's anybody that should have been dead in the end times. Not only did he come back, by the way, he's got 2 versions in the War Scrolls, too. We got both of them.
Yeah.
We got too much.
How did Nagash not do away with him in the intervening millennia?
Shocking.
Like, he is the cause of everything bad in the world.
Or at least get him some sleeves. All right, so Tom, kick it off.
So for me, the good was actually kind of a weird, surprising one. Like, there's just so much good. Let me just say that. Like, man, I think that the Death faction, like both Vampire Counts and Tomb Kings, is just banging on all cylinders.
Amen.
And so, like there are a few other factions that I just love thinking about building these armies because you can move back and forth between the sets of War Scrolls so smoothly. So that said, I went for something a little bit abnormal, like not super powerful, but something that like I just has a lot of punch to it, or someone. So my good is Heinrich Kemmler.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So this is like a solo dude on foot, okay? And these heroes don't last long. If anybody's played the game, one of the big drawbacks of this type of foot hero is that they are range bait. They will draw all of the artillery because they only have 5 wounds, and within a round or 2 you can normally blast them off the table. So, but this is a named character that's filling that space that doesn't have heavy wounds, but he's running around with this ability called Lichmaster. And what it does is that each time he suffers a wound or mortal wound, and there's a death unit within 3 inches of him, he rolls a dice. On a 2-up, he ignores the wound, but one of the units suffers a mortal wound. So basically, he has a 2-up ward save against all wounds, as long as there's other death units nearby.
Well, look out, sir.
Yeah, he has essentially a lookout, sir. Now, the thing about it is that this dude is going to get surrounded by skeleton warriors and zombies, both of which that are regenerating models every round.
Beautiful.
So removing this guy from the table is going to be an issue. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many attacks that you're putting on him. He's going to be able to shrug off most of them, and so his wound ratio goes from like 5 to effectively like 30 wounds.
Sure.
So that's the first thing, and then on top of that. If he does happen to get in hand-to-hand combat, which like you guys have seen, or you guys heard about like the zombie block, for example, that what's-his-face talked about. Andy from the, is it 2D6? Yeah.
Yes, Andy 2D6 of Andy and Rem show fame.
Yes, yeah, that other show that's somewhat competitive with us, but not really.
There's other YouTube shows about this?
Kind of.
Oh.
Surprisingly. I mean, you came to the best. Don't worry, but
yes,
yes.
You're not missing.
I guess I should have gotten bins.
No, so but anyways, so if that guy so one of the tactics is to put this guy in the middle of a block of zombies. He'll never get touched in melee combat because you can just have so many zombies around him that nobody can ever actually get to him. That said, if he ever does get into combat, any time that he's dropping other models, he's going to, which there's no reason not to throw him into combat. For a caster, he actually has a decent round of attacks. One of his attacks is doing a D3 -1 Ren. The other one's doing 2 damage with 2 attacks at -1 Ren. So it's not bad. If he's putting any models into the ground, each time a model goes down, on a 2+, he's adding either a zombie or skeletal warrior back to a unit within 18 inches. He's at +1 on his unbinding rolls. At the start of his hero phase, you can just remove him from the battlefield and move him 2d6 inches wherever you want from his current location. So if you need to break him out of combat, he has a built-in escape plan, like at the start of each of your turns. You just move him. And he's throwing 2 spells around.
Yeah.
And then on top of all of that, his spell, Invigorate, is a casting value 6. Every death model in your army within 18 inches. Let me say that again. Every death model in your army within 18 inches. Heroes, monsters, all of your multi-wounds like ghoul, flesh-eater people. All of them gain heal wound on a casting of 6.
Nice.
So he just, as a package, he's banging on all cylinders. And he's bringing a lot more threat than a lot of people are anticipating, and he's going to be a lot harder to remove. So
he's got the sweetest hat in Warhammer.
He does have a super sweet hat.
Yes, he does.
He's like Jagger.
All right, Tom.
Yeah.
So you've given us a healthy argument for his good. What?
Good.
What's
Okay.
some
So
bad?
bad. So Isabella. Look at Isabella. Flip through her stat stuff. One of her main abilities depends on having Vlad on the table. And
both special characters.
Yeah,
Not just one.
yeah, you have to have Vlad on the table in order to use one of her 2 special abilities.
Mhm.
And the other special ability, each time a model that you drop of another model with Isabella on a 2+, she'll heal a wound. Okay, her or another vampire within range heal a wound. You're like, oh, that's pretty good. Except you look and she has her attacks are 3-up, 4-up with only -1 rend and only 1 damage. So you have to throw her into blocks of infantry in order for her to maybe heal wounds on herself or another person. And so she's not doing what she needs to be doing. She doesn't have the tools to do what she needs to do. And then so that she's my bad, and then Conrad is my ugly. And why is Conrad my ugly? Because there's so much just possibility with Conrad. It all just looks so good. But his Red Fury is just not what it needs to be. Because he has to drop a bunch of models in order for him to actually trigger his Red Fury reliably. But the problem you're going to run with that is that he's hitting more reliably, but only on 2 attacks, and they're only at -1 rend.
Yeah.
So, again, you're having to throw him into blocks of infantry in order to actually trigger this with any reliability.
Right.
And he doesn't have the survivability to do that. So
Sure. I like it. Solid. So I think the take-home point, Tom, we can learn from you is look closer at Heinrich Kemmler. All right, that's what I'm getting. Give him a second look. All right, my list. Here we go.
By the way, Davey, ignore everything you hear.
Good. Archon the Black. If you haven't read him, read him again. He's beautiful. Baby Nagash. Nagash's best boy. He's back, baby. He's back. First of all, he brought Curse of Years with him, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
He's ready to go. He's ready to reduce your unit to ash. You get a hot roll. That's a dead unit. Awesome. His command ability totally sucks. Who cares? He's never been a commander. It's garbage. Forget it's even printed on there. Take a different guy. Have somebody else with a command ability. Doesn't need it. Not important. The dude's rocking +3 to cast summoning spells right out of the gate when he's unwounded.
Yep.
Okay? And on top of that, this guy heals wounds like a boss. Like a boss! He's on his monster. He's running around. He's killing stuff. He's going back up to having no wounds. +3 cast summoning. 2 spells a turn. You can't go wrong with this dude. And he's just gonna be Curse of Yearsing and summoning and Curse of Yearsing and summoning and doing it all basically on auto rolls.
Yep.
So, hey, what more could you want out of a guy? That's what I say. Bad. I'm sad about Prince Apophos, Mr. Scarab Beetle Boy.
Yep.
It's just terrible. And he's supposed to be this super powered, undying assassin thing, trying to find somebody worthy to take his place or whatever.
He's going to be looking a long time.
Yeah, just kill any random spearman. You don't seem that important. You're pretty whatever. Garbage. He's a garbage character.
Lower your bar a little bit. Vengeance isn't overrated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're not that important, guy. And my ugly. It's funny you picked it. I was gonna go for the same one. I'm not gonna change it. It's Conrad von Karstein, and he's ugly because I love how ugly his ridiculous funny rule is.
Yeah.
That's why he wins for me, because he has the only, as far as I know, barring that you do some sound work, some technical work with wiring, he has the only completely impossible to fulfill joke special rule that he has to talk back to you for him to re-roll his wounds. So now, if you did wire him up with a little sound chip so that you could talk, you can get away with it. But short of that,
Great idea, Vince.
yeah, exactly. It's just never happening. All right. Okay. So next up, group: good, bad, ugly, infantry or cab. So Davey, start us off.
All right. So good. I'm gonna go with something with table experience here. Good. I was impressed by the Grave Guard when we played against them. They come with rend, whatever weapon you're taking, and they got that extra on the 6th wound, they double damage, which is pretty beefy when you get in there. So rend on a unit that you plow into, and then the double damage, they can really churn out. I definitely was trying to steer clear of them. I thought they were good. I thought they were solid. Sorry, we're doing infantry and cav, is it?
Well, I mean, it's whatever you want. It can be from any of those. You don't need one of each. Just like Grave Guard can be your good, and then bad could be like, you know, some kind of knight or something, right?
So, yeah, well, some kind of knight. Interesting, you should say that. So the flip side of this is their partners in crime. The Black Knights, for some reason, did not. When they got on their horses, they forgot how to fight so well. I don't really see what role the Black Knights fill. I feel like there's other people who do just about everything they do better. They don't have any rends. They can double damage on the charge, but they just don't seem to bring any heat. So I don't really get it. I don't know. How you guys feel about that? And then ugly. Well, I guess I had to go with for a near miss, the Spirit Hosts. I really liked them until I kind of focused. I couldn't figure out why they only had 3 wounds. All the other swarms seemed to have more than that, and I just didn't click for me. The 3 wounds seems like a weird holdover, so they get ugly for me just for not fulfilling the promise of what I think is a really sweet model. Their revamp that they've done on that. I would like them to be a lot better so I could see them on the table more. But that's where I go for my 1, 2, 3 here.
All right. I like it. Solid list. All right, Eric, what about you, buddy? Walk us through it.
Yeah, so here's, again, where my biases and my are not going to turn, like, don't follow my suggestions, follow everyone else's. Skeletons are amazing. They're not, no, they're not, but not for the reasons you think. They look awesome on rounds. They're so, like, posable. You can put so much character. Like, there's more character in the skeleton infantry than there is in most other infantry. Does that even make sense? It does, because they're awesome. But then they also, like, there's a lot of things that let them stack up and let them kind of become something more. So on base, they're just a bunch of bones. And we've experienced it where, you know, you use them the right way, and they can bounce knights and hold up, you know, heavy cav. You do it wrong, and you know, they just splinter. You know, so they're kind of a cool. They've got a lot of nuance to them, and there's a lot of ways to just kind of support them in different ways. The bad. If we're going off of, let's see, the hex race. I mean, they have some of their same stuff, but you know, in our games, I have some, but I've never been like, oh, I really want to take those guys and put them on the table. They still do some of their move and you know, hurt things, but for some reason, yeah, they're.
It's only on a 6, which is weird, you know. You would think.
Yeah, I mean, so
I think they're fairly underwhelming. I completely agree. It's just they don't. I think we're all used to what they were before, and now they just, oh boy, they're not that anymore for sure.
They might be good at grabbing. I mean, they're in the undead army. There's not as much movement, so maybe their 12-inch move gives them the ability to just be anywhere on the board and take objectives and do that sort of thing. But you know, and so maybe that's enough. But man, their points cost is so high. Wait a minute. No, we don't have that. Ugly. Let's see. Because I think it's such a cool. I think it might. I don't know. I really like. I'm going in the wrong direction. I'm confusing myself, but I really like the bat swarms. As an
ugly can be good as well.
Yeah,
ugly can be like, man, that is ugly how good they are.
Yeah, I mean, like they just have to be within a range of another a shooting unit, and they take down their skills.
Yes.
And so it's like they could just be anywhere, but they, you know, like you're not paying attention to them. You're not going to shoot them. You're not going to try and attack them. Like, and they're just going to ruin your day if you're bringing shooting.
And they can qualify as ugly because the current GW model, such as it is
pretty ugly, pretty god awful.
If you can get your hands on the Lord of the Rings Bats of Moria.
Yeah. And not to mention they're five. I mean they're really, I mean you're not gonna get them in a combat, but they got 5 wounds each. And if they inflict wounds in combat, it heals, and then they heal their own wounds. So they're super durable. They just seem like they're kind of fly under the radar.
Ooh, I see what you did.
So yeah, I mean I think they're one that I really want to try and get in there. But yeah.
No, I like it. Anything that hits shooting. Yep. I mean, obviously shooting's very powerful in Age of Sigmar, and it's exactly what you said. It's target priority. They're having an important impact on the battle. But if somebody wastes shooting or offense to go kill those, okay, like what a perfect.
That's a win.
Ability, right? Yeah, exactly. So it's just win-win for you. Either you penalize them or you make them waste resources on that.
And you just summon more.
Right. Yep. Also true. All right, Tommy. Good, bad, ugly. Infantry cav.
Good. I'm gonna have to come out swinging with the zombie horde.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's happening.
Specifically with horde as a qualifier, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Because, okay, so here's
he means get a bucket, fill it with zombies, deploy them like that on the table. You got enough. Okay,
well, but here's the deal. Good.
I was gonna say like one of those crab dinners where they just throw.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well,
like zombies and butter.
So here's the deal. Like, name whatever number of zombies that you have. Fine, great, cool, whatever. That unit is always regaining 1d6 flame models at the beginning of every turn. Like, we'll start there. Okay. So, and as they're like wounding victims and taking people down, you're adding zombies there. You can summon zombies very easily, casting level value 4, which I'll get to casting values in the oddities section next in the section below. But on a 4, you summon 10 zombies. On an 8, you summon 20 zombies, and the zombies have the unique ability to actually merge with other units of zombies. And so that's what makes this suddenly gross, is that you can actually summon zombies. Like, let's say you have the zombie horde, like, pushing into their front lines. You can summon 9 inches back and join the group that's in combat. Right. And so, like, so you can actually truly play like the Walking Dead. Like, it just continues to push, and even if you're losing casualties in the front, you can be pulling from the back from everything that's getting added. And so, like, they break the rules. And on top of that, when you get them in large enough numbers, the reality is that they're at +3 to hit and wound.
Yeah. Well, you say they break the rules, but they break it in a fun and characterful way. Like it looks like they're playing like you want them to play, which is awesome.
And if you have on top of all that, if you have a corpse card round, which you're clearly going to have in this instance, what you end up with is you end up at 2 up to hit, 3 up to wound.
Then there's a horde of heroes.
Yeah, like for a bunch of 50 troops, 60, however many you want to summon. And so like they're just good. Like, I just love them. Like, they are suddenly useful and compelling to play.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Why didn't they just make them a monstrous creature, melt them all together into one model that just got a little bit weaker as you killed little bits of it off? I mean, it's a 30 wound monster.
Yeah,
they watched World War Z and they didn't want any part of that, so they were like,
certainly. So my bad, I'll go quick with the rest of these, is Skeletal Horseman. Man, you think Hex Race is bad? Go read Skeletal Horseman. I was going to choose Hex Race, and then I went and looked at Skeletal Horseman, and I'm like, no, it has
worse.
to be.
Yeah, they're terrible.
They are actually worse than the Hex Race. On their combat values, on their defense values, on their function, like, they don't have a purpose on the battlefield.
I completely agree.
And that's the problem. Like, you are never going to, for anything that you would use them for, maybe you're going to take the ranged archer versions.
Yep.
And everything. And so they just
have interesting rules,
Yeah, and so they just it's sad because they were bad in the last edition and they're bad.
Yeah.
Which also, if Vince's theory is correct, means they're not getting new models because that means that that they don't feel the need to incentivize people to buy old crappy models. Okay.
Well, those are relatively recent models, right? I mean.
Well, those skeleton horses are also super versatile.
5.
They are.
Here's my deer horse.
Nice.
There you go.
Like they're so fun to build. So I will say there is a use for them for hobbying.
Yeah, just the horse archer. We'll come to the horse archer. We'll come back to horse archers in a minute.
Okay.
Horsemen.
Yes.
Thumbs down. But who cares what the difference is? Like the model's the model. The dead horses are just dead horses.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So then finally my ugly is the Blood Knights. Because here's the deal. They're fantastic. Like 3 wound, 10-inch knights, 4-up save, fantastic round of attacks, 3 attacks at 3-up, 3-up, -1 rend, 1 damage that jumps to D3 damage onto the charge. Their 4-up save goes to 3-up against anybody that doesn't have a rend value. So against normal infantry, they are literally going to be just shit stompers. They're healing wounds if they're putting enemy models out of combat. Like with the banner. And with the banner, they're restoring dead mod. Like it is just win across the board. Like these guys are elven swordmasters on horses. Like they're just so good. And so they will make a bloody mess of the enemy. So there you go. Ugly.
I like it. All right. For my good, I'm actually going to pick skeletal horse archers. How about that? Because I think the horse archers are good. I think that because they're not clearly the best troops in the world. That is to say, they don't have like an instant win if you just throw them into combat. But they're very useful what they do.
Yeah.
And they can run and still shoot. And what really sells me on them is they have that crazy flip the move and shooting thing.
Yeah, just fun.
Right? Again, it's that ability to break the rules. Like the way that they can play is so versatile. They have pretty good range, and they're a great tool in the death toolbox that death does not have a lot of access to normally, of like this kind of very fast moving, flying around the table, being where you need to be. And that's what these guys are. They're playing like Slaneshi Seekers and crazy crap like that, where the way they're moving around the table, right? And I think that's very advantageous. So I think they're a good tool in your toolbox. For my bad, skeletal horsemen. I was actually going to pick that because I think it's funny. I love the horse archers. The horsemen are exactly as not purposeful. Like they have their special rules are garbage. They don't do anything interesting. They can like charge when they ran, so they can go in and immediately die quicker. Because if they hit anything, like they can hit a low wall and probably fall over dead. Like they're just so
they're 6-up armor too. Like their save is just terrible.
They are really bad. And we won't linger on them, as Tom gave all the reasons why they're bad, and I agree. And then finally, for my ugly, I'm gonna go for the Necropolis Knights. It's cheating a little bit, but they're still cavalry. They're just riding big snakes. I think these guys are just brutal what they do to people, and the fact that their little stick guy, your standard bearer, restores a whole snake every round. Oh,
it's a 5-1 model.
Tasty, yeah. And they're not that easy to get rid of unless they're getting hit by like high, like high rend and stuff attacks. They're pretty solid, unit against most troops, and they'll do some damage. All right, last round, final round. We're gonna go to the monsters. We're gonna skip oddities. We kind of touched them. We're going to monsters. It's happening, Tom. Get on board.
I'm not doing monsters then.
That's fine. You may use your oddities.
How about any other model?
There you go. Final round, oddities and monsters, since Tom is a bitch. All right, so here we go. You're good, you're bad, and you're ugly.
Good, Necrosphinx.
Yes. Okay, we can't all pick Necrosphinx. We all know it's amazing.
We won't.
Well, okay, no, I know what you mean. So what I like about this is that I love the model. Wanted it to be good in the last edition. It was all right. People found ways to make it work, and now it just, it's one of those that not only is it good, but it represents what it like. That decapitating blow is so characterful. Anytime somebody gets 2 hits, both sides are sweating. Are those 2 6s going to come up? Plus, as he takes damage, he's still on 4 attacks the whole time. So that decapitating strike, that's going to be available all the way down to the ground. So very fun model. Doesn't take a lot of damage. Very cool. Very exciting. I like that one. So let's see. So Necrosphinx on the good. I guess on bad, if we're gonna combine categories, I might go with the Mortis engine. I just in the previous, it would have a continuous effect where it's doing this bubble. Here it just kind of runs around. It's got a whale, it's got some attacks, and once per game it can do a big old blast out, but it just doesn't seem to have a very persistent effect on the game, and it's a little disappointing.
Out of your damn mind.
All right.
And I will get to that.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
I like it.
And then the ugly, I'm gonna go with like over the top ugly, and this is the terror geist who didn't lose anything. He can heal. He can has an amazing threat range with the fly and the scream, and that scream is boss. 3d6, any amount over the bravery, do that in wounds. Like bravery 10 is super high here, and you're going to be about half the time doing more than that. Most guys, you are looking at, it's not like leadership in the previous editions. You're looking at like 6 is a pretty decent bravery score these days. So he can really lay some hurt, especially like we're talking about those isolated characters that are floating around. That's a big deal. So that's my good, bad, and the ugly. I'm super excited to hear why I'm so wrong about the Mortis engine.
No, I love it. That's a good, solid list. I think Tom will give us a good argument on the Mortis engine, and I'm definitely.
I've only seen it on paper. I'm looking forward.
There you go.
The show.
I certainly agree on the Necrosphinx and the Terrorgeist. Whoa, ugly. Terrorgeist scream at low bravery unit. Ugly thing results.
I know.
All right, Eric, your go. Take us through it. Oddities and monsters. Good, bad,
yes. So my good, because I want him to be good in 8th edition, and he wasn't. And because on the last game I played with him, he totally stomped things. The Bone Giant.
Yeah.
And partially because he explodes. He can his unstoppable assault. So first time into combat of the game, he can make an additional attack. A Necrotect helps him take another attack. I could read it to give you better instructions, but I'm not gonna. And then if he each time he rolls a hit roll of a 6, so that's on each whatever weapon, he gets another attack or gets to make another.
He piles in and makes another round of attacks.
Yeah. So the 6s explode to an immediate extra attack. Yeah. So if he's rolling his attacks and the 6s explode, and then from the Necrotect lets him go in there, and then the Reanimate Wrath is what? I don't know. I'm not good at reading these fast. Anyway, so basically he has the potential to do basically twice as much. Be two Bone Giants. I think we did a test and we were done with the game because Davey had walloped me pretty good, but he took 5 Chaos Knights with they have lances.
Yeah, Chaos Glaives, I think he was about the lances. Yes.
Yep, and so he charged them in, and they bounced.
Yeah.
They just bounced, and then he took out 4 of them. The Bone Giant did, and then he also stomps.
Yeah, you sport 9 wounds, and you don't lose any effectiveness as you lose those wounds. It's a big deal.
That was a big
Yeah, he's 1 wound under the small monsters that do lose effectiveness, yet he doesn't lose effectiveness.
Yeah.
And you're right, he's just explosive in how many attacks he can end up making.
Yep. All right, the bad. Obviously, I don't even know. The carrion models are ugly, so I'm just going to say they're bad.
We could certainly use some new carrion. Come on.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
And I don't know if their rules are any good because I haven't looked at them because they're ugly. And then I think I actually like the Royal War Sphinx more than Necrosphinx for ugly. I may be wrong, but I mean having a shooting attack that does D6 wounds, and that's 3 up, 2 up to a hit. That's only 8 inches, but again, you're gonna want to get this guy in combat. And then it's got 6 attacks with claws and teeth. He's got 3 bladed attack, 1 venom, and a random number of glaive attacks, like 3. So it's just crap ton of stuff, and everything does rend. Every single bit of it does rend. -1s for the first ones, and -2 for the spike tail and the glaive. So.
And he's having incoming wounds.
What's that?
And he has incoming wounds.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, and he's got, D6 damage on the fiery roar, D3 on the spike tail, 3 just on the glaive. Like, no Ds on that. So that's just a monster. Tons of outpush, and then Thunder Crush, and Curse, and a whole bunch of, So, and heals. D3 wounds.
Does a lot. It's a busy model.
So, screw your Necrofinks.
Put a Tomb King on the back of it and call it a day. All right. I like it.
I was going to go into Beyonce's song. If you want the War Sphinx better, put a prince on it.
Exactly. Put a prince on it. There you go. All right. Tom.
Okay.
What do you got? Hit me.
So here's the deal. You guys mentioned a bunch of the monsters that are good. I actually don't think there are any monsters that are bad. Like, I looked and looked and looked, and there's just nothing. But, okay, so all that to say, going back to oddities, I'm going to start with my bad first. What happened to...
Yeah, exactly. Way to break format, Tom. You're such a rebel.
What happened to the skeletal chariots? Like, I look at them and I'm like, really? Like, the impact wounds, and they usually used to just be these scary blocks of death. And now it's like,
Sure.
So it's just bad. It's just bad. There's just so much else I would field before a chariot block. Okay. So that said, I'm gonna go into my good, and I'm gonna merge it with my ugly.
Okay.
So let me start with the good, and the good is a Casket of Souls. As an oddity, because this thing is just banging on all cylinders. It is like you're getting a caster out of the deal. And it acting the the cheater caster. So you're getting a priest out of the deal that can dispel. So he unbinds if he's a wizard. He and the Unleash Shoals is just awesome. Like it was previously, and it's still pretty awesome. Just like the Terrorgeist we kind of talked about. Like it's obviously not as good as the Terrorgeist, but it's still very good. 8 wounds, 4-up save, awesome. Okay. All of that to say, that's not why I would field a Casket of Souls. I would field a Casket of Souls because if there's a Lich Priest from your army within 18 inches, they gain +1 your casting rolls. And you're like, really? A Lich Priest, Tom? Here's the deal. This army has a combination, I've alluded to this previously, in other podcasts or in other shows, that this army and between the two factions have some synergy that is truly, truly broken. Like, there's not a lot of things in this game that I would say is like broken, but this is something that just gets beyond ugly, where it's like the Losing Friends level of ugly.
You hear that, Davey?
Yeah.
Because here's the deal. Corpse Cart, field it. +1 to all Deathcasters. Caster, field it. You get +1 to all Lich Priests. Mortis Engine, field it. You get +1 to all Deathcasters. Okay? So those 3 things, you're pulling +3. That means you're auto-casting Arcane Bolts. Okay? So if you have a battery of Lich Priests, I'm assuming normal composition rules, a battery of Lich Priests are going to be auto-casting all their Arcane Bolts and can delete units every round. Okay? And Lich Priests also, by the way, happen to be the one caster that gets the 8th edition Dispel Scroll.
Yeah, nice.
And so having a battery of them, actually, like, you're the perfect counter to another battery of casters, because you can shut them down for an entire round. So, as if that wasn't gross enough, in the game now, you can actually deploy terrain. Right? Like, you can take terrain and deploy terrain as a war scroll. Like, that's a thing. So a lot of people haven't actually read the terrain, but if you lay a Dreadstone Blight down with these guys, it adds a very kind of funny rule. A wizard casting Arcane Bolt within 3 inches of Dreadstone Blight, on a 7 or more roll, they're doing a d6 mortal wounds on their Arcane Bolt. On a 9 or more, they're auto doing 6 mortal wounds.
Yikes.
So you can run around with +3 to cast on all their Arcane Bolts. It means your minimum of 5. On a 4, you're doing a d6, and on a 6 roll, you're doing an auto 6 mortal wounds per caster, per battery.
Damn.
Pretty boss.
Yeah,
my
it's
defense on the Mortis engine, though, I'll say it doesn't sound like it's good. It sounds like it's a cog in a very good machine.
yes, it is. It is, and yeah. That's the other thing. By the way, the arcane rolls, they also add +1 to casting roll. So those numbers I just gave you are completely wrong because it's actually doing a D6 on a 3-up. Doing a 6 auto on a 5-up, which I believe is like, is that like a 70-some% chance?
Close, yeah. I don't have it off the top of my head.
Like on a 2d6 5-up, it's like a 70-some% or 80-some%.
5-up is effectively a 2-up on 1d6.
Yeah. So that's like an 84% chance or something like that.
There you go.
Yeah, so it's like you're losing friends by fielding this, but it's just gross.
How to lose friends and make people hate you. There you go. Play the Tom way. I like it, Tom. No, it's very good. I'm glad you get your list in there. I'm sorry we almost cut out your thing.
All I gotta say is your math hammer is a little obscene here in the Age of Sigmar.
Eric, I will need you to look into like one of those little Men in Black flashy thingies after this podcast. Too.
Right, exactly. That way you can forget all of this you've heard.
Oh, and if all this wasn't stupid enough, you can actually
it is
good Lich Priest like proxies from Reaper Bones for $2.99.
Yeah, they do have a bunch of good bones, like knockoffs. Yeah,
like
true.
Undead, Egyptian undead. So anyway,
cheapest characters.
Yeah.
All right. I'll round us out here quickly, and very easily. So, my good, I'm going to pick the humble, the only one we haven't touched yet, the Cimmerian War Sphinx. Not the royal version. I'll take the humble kitty cat. It's got a great spit. It's got good attacks. It hits healed. It's solid. It's beautiful. We all know I've got a ton of them. I've mentioned it like 100 times. I still love them to death and should still get one more before before I'm done. Bad.
And after this, they're all going on eBay, everybody.
Yeah, never. From my cold, dead hand. Bad. The Black Coach. What a piece of garbage this thing is. It was garbage last time. It's still garbage now. And by the way, people who might argue with me by saying, like, yeah, but if it gets all the way up to level 5, it can do some... No, shut up. Shut up. I'm not piling death casters around this thing just to hope they roll 6s so I can go up levels.
I don't know. I got an army that could work pretty well.
Sure. Don't play a Tom's Cheater Lich Priest army, then yeah, maybe. But no, just in normal play, it's just awful. And my ugly, I'm going to pick the other half of the Terrorgeist, that zombie dragon. He is truly hideous. He is an ugly model, but man, he can really do some damage. He's ugly in the wrecking that he does. And he's got a nice vampire on his back and stuff. So he's pretty sexy all around. And if you want to do a fun conversion, speaking of Reaper Bones has the very nice Netherramul or whatever.
Nethermaul.
Thank you, that one. And he's pretty cheap given his size. He's a big, really cool undead dragon.
Yeah, you can normally get him for about $20 on eBay pretty reliably.
Yeah. So get yourself a big, sweet zombie dragon for $20. Who doesn't like that, right? There you go. So that's my list, and that brings us to the end of that segment. I think we've given the final word on death. What do you guys think? Right? I mean, that's it.
I think so.
Yeah. The truth is out there. All right. We had a couple questions. So Dylan Pond asked at the top of the show, he said, do you think the fact that the Battle Tome is coming out this week for Lizardmen means there are no more Lizardmen releases? I think we touched on that kind of. I think that, yeah, I think you will see them. I think they'll be down the line in a narrative campaign release thing when they do, like, battle for, name some random plane we haven't talked about much yet. Like battle for Charon. There you go. Then, there's going to be like 3 different releases for 3 different armies. I think eventually we'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Also, Stu Gibson asked a question related to the death. So he said, is the pseudo-Egyptian aesthetic of the Tomb Kings just kind of weird now in the Age of Sigmar, or does it still make sense? So, Eric, you've got Nagash behind you. I think I'm going to let you field this one. Does the Tomb King Egyptian aesthetic make sense still?
I mean, I do think so where Game Shop's going from a hobby perspective is that pretty much everything goes. Like, I do think that, the new terrain has a very Age of Sigmar aesthetic, but I think you could find a corner of some realm that still feels like the old world. So from that perspective, I think that anything goes. I mean, literally the mantra of Games Workshop right now is anything goes. So the aesthetic's weird. I mean, and we just talked about Lizardmen. I mean, that's probably even more of a hard to hide aesthetic than the Tomb King stuff, because you can downplay that with your tones and not get so brightly colored and that sort of stuff. So I think for now it's here to stay. But I do think, all of the End Times releases had a very unique and new kind of feel for it, with Nagash, the Morghasts, the Mortarks, just a bigger, chunkier, bonier kind of thing. I think that if anything new comes out, it's going to follow that aesthetic, and it's going to be mono death.
Yep.
So that's what I'm thinking.
I could not agree with you more. I think you summed it up so well. And you mentioned the lizards. Like, look, if the lizards can come back with their crazy Aztec thing, this can work too. I think that I hear too often us trying to put ourselves in boxes. People are like, well, I don't want a hobby because I don't know what the aesthetic's going to look like, or this or that. It's your aesthetic. Make it look like whatever you want. We're constructing these boxes. Yep. It's your army. You should feel empowered to make them look like whatever you want at any point in time. And if new models come out and look slightly different, they will probably still fit. The newest Skaven looked a lot different than some of the oldest Skaven, but I've got them all together, and you know what? They all still look more like each other than they look like anything else. Yeah. Right? I mean, that's what it boils down to. If an elf came out tomorrow and looked like an Eldar fire warrior, or not, Eldar fire dudes, the guys with the big guns, heavy weapons team, the Eldar fire weapons team, whatever they were called, I would say, that doesn't really look like an elf. Okay, that's different enough, it's of its own thing. But I don't think that's what's going to happen either, right?
Right.
Maybe.
And even sometimes when it looks different enough, it still fits. I think for one, like Stormcast look really good next to like the Huracanum and the Warrior Priests and the Sigmar-y hammer wielders of the old world. I think those all make perfect sense. Yeah. Throw some flagellants at them. That's what I say.
I think they just did a bunch of, with all the End Times releases, these are some models that they intended for Age of Sigmar, and there's some things that are still gonna probably still have sitting in the wings that they're waiting to release. Like Scarbrand just came out, was chilling in the back, that they've been waiting for. But I do think it's safe to go ahead and paint whatever's on the table, whatever's in the line right now, because I don't think that stuff's getting deleted.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. All right, gentlemen, any final thoughts before we close out for the evening?
I guess just are we at let them know about our podcast and that sort of stuff?
Let them know, man. Right. Plug away, brother. Do it.
So Davy and I, and then our other co-host Mal, started the Mortal Realms podcast really just as a way to stay positive, to be figuring out ways, as we talked in some of our first episodes. 8th and End Times were closing out, and Davy and I were kind of just making up our own games and throwing whatever models we wanted on the table anyway. So really, Age of Sigmar was just created for us. It's not for anybody else but Davy and me. So you don't have to play it. But if you are interested, what we're trying to do is just figure out how to have the most fun with it. And it is what it is, and there's plenty around it. Obviously, there's people in the community that are creating really cool stuff. The creativity is exploding. It's starting to explode more and more. So, you guys have Mordheim coming out. Mango Miniatures put out a Time of War. I know the It Will Not Die podcast put out kind of a conversion of the campaign rules from the General's Compendium. So some things like that. And so there's just so much creativity coming out for it. Like we probably won't get to play any of it because there's too much to podcast about. And so, but that's really what our podcast is about, is just trying to figure out how to be as positive. And So here's the other side of it too. We haven't received anything from Games Workshop because they don't know we exist. But really, we need more people playing this game. We like it, and so part of a big slant of our podcast is just ways that you can get other people involved in it. So we're not hyper competitive. We're not often talking about points, comps as much, or whether something's going to be badass in a game or not. It's really structured around how do you break ice? How do you help somebody have a good first game? How do you how do you just grow your group of friends? Because we don't think that the old model of meeting strangers in dark game shops was really doing the job to grow the community for Games Workshop. So how do you get your friends involved? How do you get your spouse involved, or have kids and wait 10 years and then they can get involved?
More of a long-term investment.
Yeah, I mean we're going for the land and expand. So but I mean, and that's really what we're about. We're trying to get a podcast out once a month and just really be a positive space in the community where there has been a lot of negativity, and not that the people who are negative can't be negative and they're wrong. They feel what they feel. We just don't feel that, and we don't have time to feel that, and we're having fun doing it. Davey, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think you got it covered. I really appreciate it. I had a really good time chatting with you guys here tonight. It was awesome. Thank you very much for the invite.
Thanks for coming.
Hey, yeah, absolutely. We were super glad to have you on. We would love to have you back on anytime. I really mean that. Absolute pleasure, guys. And as I said at the top, the link to their podcast will be down below. Go there, subscribe to them, listen to the shows they've got, rate them highly. Don't give them bad reviews. You give them good reviews. Give them a good rating. These guys, they have earned it by putting out some quality shows. And thank you, gentlemen, both very much for making time with us tonight. Really appreciated it. A lot of fun talking about death with both of you, all under the watchful gaze of Nagash back there, who's been staring at us the whole time, I can tell. All right. Tom, any other quick thoughts?
We need feedback on more time. Like, we've gotten some good feedback, but we need more.
Yes. I wanted to give a special thank you very much for reminding me. I wanted to give a special shout-out on that to Thomas Weber, who's been sending me some absolutely fantastic feedback, and also to Moritz. And I'm sorry, Moritz, I can't pronounce your last name. I won't even try because I will butcher it. He is in Germany, but thank you, Moritz. He wrote me some really, really nice feedback, which I just got back from a trip yesterday, and I've been parsing through it. Look for probably a small update this weekend is what I'm aiming at for that. So, so we will be doing our another update with some more stuff coming this weekend. Tom and I have a big list, and we're working our way through it. So, as always, I will link the Mordheim stuff down below as well. There's going to be like 50 links down there. Find them all. Click on them all. Look at that. I got stuff for your whole evening if you're listening to this. There you go.
Burn your entire night.
Exactly. All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. Like I said, look forward to having you on here the next time. And to all of you out there, thank you for watching. Appreciate it as always. And we will see you next Wednesday.